Oh, that's me.
Good start.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast brave enough to record on Christmas Day. I'm your host, Muzzy, and joining me today is Brandon.
Happy New Year!
Saf.
Fuck Christmas. You work.
Ills.
I always knew Santa wasn't real.
And Noah.
Where are my ho-ho-hos at?
True that. So, today's Christmas Day when we're recording. By the time this goes up, it'll be, I think, the 28th? Something like that?
Yeah, the 28th.
But this is the last podcast of the year.
Yeah, we made it through this fucking hellish year.
Yep.
Yay.
2020 is almost over. We can almost look at it in the mirror, say goodbye from the rearview mirror. I mean,
thank God.
But yeah, we're almost done. But while this year was pretty shitty all around, and boy do I mean shitty, we still have some things we want to reflect on.
Yeah.
Those things, of course, being video games,
Yeah,
because those are the only good things to happen this year.
Yeah, they still came out, so
They still kept trucking along. In fact, in the industry, one of the biggest years ever.
Yeah.
The only lens which we view the world.
Exactly. Amen. And so, of course, what do we got to do? We got to do our games of the year, our year in review. I guess it's not really a year in review. We're only talking about what we want to talk about. But let's just get started, shall we? So we all brought three games that we want to shout out. We made sure not to overlap with each other, so that, we're not just talking about Animal Crossing 7 times. But so we're going to talk about 15 different games that we just want to shout out as some of our favorites this year. And we also have one special category that each of us came up with our own category, that whatever we just wanted to talk about this year. So that'll be fun. We'll do that at the end, but let's just get started. Brandon, you just want to go first?
sure. Should we do one each and then go around?
Yeah, we're going to go one each.
Yeah.
We'll just go around the table like that. That sounds like a fun way to do it.
All right. Well, I want to talk about. I'm going to start with the game on my list here that came out first in the year. It was early in the year. I think it was March, and the game's called Murder by Numbers. It was revealed recently at an Indie World Showcase, I think, from Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And this game was developed by Mediatonic, who you'll probably hear later on. Somebody talk about another one of their games. They had a good year for an indie developer. And the game, when I first saw it at that Indie Direct, I said, yeah, this is a game I want to play. Absolutely. I think it was revealed probably late 2019 at an Indie Direct thing. Maybe early 2020. I don't remember exactly which one, but it came out early this year. And it's basically a combination of visual novel and Picross. Very heavily in the style of Ace Attorney, kind of, or at least the investigation segments of Ace Attorney, combined with Picross puzzles. And if you don't know what Picross are, they're basically picture puzzles where you have a grid, kind of like Sudoku, where you have to fill in numbers, kind of like fill in blocks to make a picture. And I've always been a fan of Picross. I've played a lot of Picross games. Mario's Picross on Game Boy, the DS ones. It's a fun style of puzzle. And I was excited for two things that I like a lot to combine into one. And not only that, it has a good story. It has good writing. Big shout out to the writers of the game, because I really enjoyed it. I like the characters. The setting, it was set in the 90s, which obviously made me be like, oh, okay, I like this because, I'm a boomer and I like the 90s. And it's really cool. And the music, the music is amazing, and it's done by the Phoenix Wright composer. Muzzy, what's his name, if you know? Because I don't know.
I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was the person who composed the first game.
Yeah, first Phoenix Wright game. And I absolutely love the soundtrack. I listened to it all year after I played the game, and I just loved it. And I think it's a game I would highly recommend to anybody who, one, likes Picross, and two, likes a good story. because
A good murder mystery.
yeah,
Actually, I don't remember if there was much murder in there. No, there definitely.
I mean, it's called Murder
Oh,
by
there's a
Numbers.
lot.
Yeah, it's called Murder by Numbers. What are we talking about? Yeah. You know what? That was.
There's a murder every chapter.
It's just
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
The murder is the line part.
It was a very cute little game. I liked it a lot. You know, it had very charming writing, right?
Yeah.
Very very inclusive writing, which you know, it's always nice to see stuff like that. And you know, mixing together Ace Attorney and Picross is a game I had never thought of doing, but it just works.
Yeah.
You know, I really like both of those things, and you put them in one, and I'm all for it. You know.
Yep.
That's why you don't get paid the big bucks, because you didn't think of it.
That's true. That is true.
You poor bitch.
Yeah, I would love to
But
see
yeah,
a sequel to
no,
that
I
game.
don't know. Like, this game really took me by surprise. Like, just because you know, on paper it sounded really good, but at the end of the day, it was the execution that mattered, right?
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a great game. I loved it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, I love the characters in there as well. Like Casey was the best fucking character in that game. Like I love his fucking. There was a moment where he had an interaction with another character who was a bit of a dick, and his fucking one-liners were vicious. I loved it so much. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, no, like the character writing especially is just very strong, right? Like, I feel like all the characters in the game, even the ones that they would just introduce for that one case.
Yeah.
Would have,
I mean, if you want good characters, read a fucking book. You know, that's what I always say.
Amen.
Since when are you an advocate for books?
You know, that's Muzzy's line. What do you mean?
Yeah, and Ilza's just, you know, Ilza's seen the light. So,
Yeah, you convinced me.
Yeah.
Also, Scout. We love Scout. Scout's amazing.
Oh yeah, Scout, great little buddy.
Also, big fan of the opening when you first turn the game.
Oh yeah.
You get
There's like
The intro.
a little animated intro with a cool little song, and I never skipped it, not once. I watched it every time I turned the game on. It was great.
It's well done. It was definitely well done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, awesome. Well, that was our first game. Nice to shout out a game like Murder by Numbers, Brandon. Next, let's just go in the order of this Discord call, I guess. Ills, what you got for us?
Sure. I guess I'll go with also the earliest game that came out this year, Streets of Rage 4. Yeah, it's a sequel to the old Streets of Rage franchise, as you can probably tell by the name of it. And yeah, I mean, it's just extremely well done. Like, they captured what made the original games very, very good. Like, when I played Part 2, and I played Part 2 a whole fucking lot, like, that's my fucking favorite beat 'em up. I think probably regarded as the best beat 'em up almost ever made. And this game comes very close to matching that. Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly gorgeous. It has great animations. It looks...
Yeah, like, even the sprite work and the art is, like, really charming. It's really good. I like it, too.
Yeah.
Like, we got to play a bit of multiplayer. Unfortunately, on day one, it was, like, a little bit laggy, like, because it was day one and a lot of people were playing online.
Yeah, online,
their things sorted, but it was really fun. It was, like, the combat's very similar. You get to do the combo moves, the special inputs are still there, too.
Yes. I mean, it's even a little bit expanded because they have like you know, like these super moves that they can do, which, well, you know, take the place of things like the car in the first game or the bazooka in the first game and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, it's extremely very cool. It's mechanically strong. Like, it's a joy to play. Really, I played through it a bunch of times. The one thing I would say that I didn't like about it is that, or maybe that. Not that I didn't like about it, but that it maybe falters a little bit, is that because it's so easy to pick up and play from every point in the game, it feels a lot easier to beat, so it feels a lot more forgettable.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. That's interesting that they would not like ramp up the difficulty.
I mean, there are different difficulties that you can choose. Like, you can choose to play super hard, but I mean,
sure.
For the initial playthrough, obviously you're going to play normal, and because you can start at any stage. Because I mean, it makes it easier for you to drop in and drop out through the online stuff.
Yeah.
It just makes going through the game a lot easier that way. So I mean, it feels a lot less memorable than 2, because that was like a struggle to get through the end to the end.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Still, I've been meaning to play this. I've had it installed since the day it came out, basically. I never have gotten around to it. Maybe this would be the push to finally play it.
Yeah, I mean, and it also does. It pays a great homage to the older games, because you can play as all the older characters from the older games. Like even their original style, like from those games. Like you see, like,
oh really,
the pixely version of the Streets of Rage 1 characters, and they even have the moves from the old game. Like they don't have special moves, but they have the bazooka car.
Oh, that's cool.
Like they have all their old moves, basically.
That's awesome.
That's a really cool little thing to put in there.
From like Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. So it's really just like a celebration, like the whole franchise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just missing one character, I think, which is a secret character in Streets of Rage 3, but
otherwise they have pretty much the whole cast.
They have everyone.
The kangaroo.
Wow, that's
the kangaroo.
Oh,
they don't have the kangaroo, but they have the other secret character, Shiva.
Mhm.
He's playable. So that makes no fucking sense to me. But
well. Man, that game is just so pretty. Brandon, we should play
it's
through
gorgeous.
yeah. I've only played through the first stage because I played through stage 1 and I was like, man, I really want to play this in co-op, so I stopped playing it. So,
Brandon, let's put it on our list together. Let's get through it.
You could also play 4-player local co-op, which is really cool.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's only 2-player online, right?
Yeah, it's only 2 players online.
So stupid.
But
I get it. But
co-op is a little harder to do.
Considering how much we were struggling on day 1, if it was 4-player, it would have been pretty bad.
I mean, in 2020, local co-op may be a little harder to do, but
especially with certain events going on.
But at some point, I'm sure we'll be able to do that again. But all right, well, it's Streets of Rage 4. Thank you, Ills. Next up is Noah. Noah, what's your first game?
I guess I played. I finally got into VR. I've been trying to actually get into VR for the longest time, but I've been waiting for an actual game to sell me on it. There were a lot of cool ideas and things like that, the one with the bomb that you have to work together with somebody. Keep talking or don't.
Or everybody dies.
Keep talking or everybody dies.
Yeah, that one. But that's a multiplayer one, obviously, and there are a lot of other cool, neat ideas. But finally, we got Half-Life Alyx coming, and that was hyped up to fuck, and with good reason, because it actually turned out to be a really good VR experience. Even in in the very beginning of the game, I spent the first 15 minutes playing just staying in this you just start on this balcony on top of an apartment building, and I spent 15 minutes just interacting with everything that was around me, throwing pots at pigeons and cans at the people walking down the street and shit like that. It was really, really immersive and very well done. I was immediately impressed, and walking around and going through the story. I haven't beaten it yet. I want to get back into it because unfortunately I can only do half-hour play sessions at a time because my brain's not used to VR, or my eyes get strained easily.
Right.
But yeah, I was incredibly impressed. They did an excellent job on it so far, and I'm loving it.
I mean, this is the game I most wanted to play that I just haven't had a chance because I just don't have any sort of PC VR headset, right? Mm-hmm. But I watched Noah play through the first half hour, I would say, right? More or less.
Yeah, it was the first hour or two of the game.
Yeah, and oh man, just even in that opening area, and this was me not even playing in VR, right? I'm just watching someone else play, but I was watching Noah play in VR. And, I was watching Noah play this game, and just, the interactivity with everything in the environment, was just so freaking impressive. I had just never seen anything on that level before, So I can't even...
You You haven't even played the Half-Life games either.
No, yeah, I haven't even played the Half-Life games either. But like it was just mind blowing to see that, and then I can't even imagine in VR how that feels, right?
Oh yeah,
and so
like I love zombie games and shit like that, and I don't get scared by them. But I was terrified coming across the zombie head crabs.
I bet, yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it's so good, and it's even more impressive because I played other VR games like Phasmophobia, and there was nowhere near as much interactivity with the environment. It was like severely disappointing.
Yeah, I imagine like coming from Half-Life Alyx to anything else in VR is just like, oh, all right, this is neat, but
I can't even pick up this bottle. Wow.
Oh man, like, just something simple.
I can't pick up this glass bottle and throw it at somebody. This is very.
There was just something about like Noah. I saw Noah picking up a bottle and like shaking it around, and like it was.
And it actually exploded because I dropped it.
Yeah, and it reacted like exactly like the way my brain would think that would react, right? But like you never see that kind of stuff in video games, right? And so, yeah, it's just next level stuff.
Like, they paid so much attention to the detail. It's great.
I plan on playing it one day. I also plan on just playing the rest of the Half-Life games. But Alyx, just being that VR showpiece, I'm a huge fan of VR. Like 2 years ago, I put Astrobot on my Game of the Year, right? Rescue Mission. But
yeah, I mean, I hope they fucking bring Half-Life Alyx to next-gen consoles.
Yeah, like if you know, like in the next iteration of PSVR or whatever, right? If they port Half-Life Alyx, that would be pretty freaking great.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe I'll just pick up a PC VR headset at some point. I will play this game one day. Alrighty. So who's next on our list? Is it me? It is me. Okay, so my first game, I guess I'll also go earliest by release. Animal Crossing: New Horizons came out in March. I think all of our games so far have come out in that March-April time span, right?
Yeah, so far.
So far. And so this came out. You could not come up with a more perfect release date for a video game, right? The fact that this game came out right when the pandemic just really started blowing up and things started getting shut down and what have you, right? You could not come up with a better release date. But Animal Crossing, even besides the pandemic, and obviously that's such a big part of the story of that game, right? And just the story of this year. But even besides that, it's just a phenomenal game, right? Noah, this is the first time you got into Animal Crossing, right?
Yep, it was the first time I ever played Animal Crossing ever. I wanted to get into the series, and I was impressed.
Yeah, like how you've put hundreds of hours at this point, right? And I think that's pretty much everyone who's played this game, right? Has just dug so deep into it, has played so much. Even if you stop playing at some point, you'll pick back up for new events or whatever. But it's just so well made. Like the core loop there's nothing like Animal Crossing out there, that just relaxes you. There's no pressure to really do anything, and yet at the same time, you can come up with all these different goals for yourself, right?
I crossbreeded it and got every single flower in the game.
Yeah, see, like
I made a huge hill and mountain of flowers.
If that's my something you want to do, like by all means, right?
I wish there was a reward for it, but apparently there isn't.
And the game it really just allows you to express yourself in any way that you want. Really allows you to just be yourself, and I would be remiss not to mention the online part of it, right? Just hanging out with your friends, having a good time with each other, right? And then throughout the year, you've just seen, like, because of the pandemic, right? Like, people are having, like, wedding ceremonies in Animal Crossing, right? People are having get-togethers. People are fucking campaigning for an election in Animal Crossing, right? Just all the different things you could do in this game. It really is just something special, And it's such a feel-good game, You play this game and you're just smiling, you're just happy. It really lifts your mood. It really just, everything, there's no penalties or negativity in the game at all, right? It's just all smiles. That's all it is.
Which is, yeah.
It's a very pleasant game. This is the best Animal Crossing game, right? Without a doubt.
Easy.
Yeah, and just, I don't know. Great game. I know a couple of you other guys played it. I don't know if you want to mention it.
Yeah, I mean, I've played it a lot a lot. And I played it today. I played it yesterday. I play it all the time still. I just got all the bugs. So yeah, I mean, and even getting all the bugs, I'm not gonna stop playing it. It's just fun. They keep the updates are great. By the way, just keep giving you reasons to go back and experience the different events and stuff through the seasons. Hopefully they can keep that up in next year. You know, I don't know if they'll come up with new things or keep repeating the same ones. You know, we'll see. With the way they have been doing it for this game, I wouldn't be surprised if they came up with a couple new like seasonal events that we didn't get from last year. You know, it's a Splatoon team. You know, they know how to support a game for a long time. So I don't really have very many fears on that end. And I'm just really surprised in a way. I mean, I'm not, because I knew the game was going to be good. I've been a fan of Animal Crossing for a long time. But yeah, I was also surprised just how much it's connected with so many people. You know, I've always, me and my sister have connected through Animal Crossing. But she's not as much of a gamer as I am in terms of playing games all the time. But she's played that game almost 3 times the amount as I have. And I've I put 350 hours in that game. You know? And she's played it triple the amount of time. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's
it's almost 4 digits, if not past that, right? Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
like, holy crap. But like, you know, it just connects to so many people, people who don't usually play video games, you know. And I had somebody text me this morning that, hey, I got Animal Crossing, and they're not somebody who plays games all the time, and they're like, I just got it, you know, we should play sometime, you know. It's just, it connects to a lot of people, and it can't go enough, you know, can't say enough about how I think it's the game of the year, because it just defined the year. And just gave people something to do in a shitty year for a lot of people. So
it's one of the few bright spots throughout the year, right?
Yeah,
was this game? Was playing this game?
Yeah,
and I think I think you touch on, like you said, this is like your game of the year, right? And I think for me it's the same way, right? And specifically because I think it means a lot that, like, basically the biggest game of this year, just objectively, right? Outside of maybe Among Us, was a game that is, I mean, it's not like your traditional like cinematic game. It has no guns in it, right? It's not about shooting each other. It's not about violence. It's not about, and that's not to say those games don't have a place, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's just something. I mean, video games can be so much more than that, right?
Yeah, because that's when people think of game of the year. Most of the time, it's a game with violence and action in a deep story with some sort of message behind it. You know, cinematic, and I think that's what people think of when they think of game of the year all the time, right? But
almost certainly,
you know, this breaks that mold, and it's not. Maybe it's not like the best game of the year in terms of, like, obviously a technical standpoint, even a gameplay standpoint. It's just the game that defined the year, and I think connected to the most amount of people.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty succinct way to put it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Safi, your turn.
Indeed, it is mine. And fuck your patterns. I'm gonna go for the last game to come out. Age of Calamity.
Oh, very recent game.
Hey.
Very, very fucking recent game.
Why don't you
and we had a whole
tell
entire
them, Saf, real quick, if they want to hear an in-depth conversation about Age of Calamity.
What can they do?
Well, they can listen to this one right now.
No.
Well, we have an entire episode of a podcast dedicated to it called the Up Supercast Game Club, Age of Calamity. I believe that was the second last podcast to come out.
Yeah, pretty recently. Yeah.
Yeah, it came out fairly recently. Definitely give it a listen, because they went in detail about the game. But Sam,
for sure,
you still have some stuff to say for just our normal podcast listeners.
Yes, because at the time of recording, I did not beat this game. And I was pretty hyped on that game. It was really, really good. And it was just fun to just sit down and mindlessly just destroy shit. And literally mindlessly destroy shit, which is the biggest appeal for those warrior types games, those Musou games in the first place anyway. So if you're into that traditional style of Musou, then this is probably just very much for you. As I progressed the story, I realized the story is much more worse than I thought it was, which was already low in the first place.
Sure.
But aside from that, like the amount of content and the ease in which you can just do all these side quests, it's just so fulfilling, and it's just so much bang for your buck. They have their own little challenges here and there if you want to, but otherwise it is an incredibly fun game to just lose yourself into and just sink hours into. Definitely I recommend to play it. Anyone who's a fan of Musou games. Anyone who's a Breath of the Wild fan, probably not, maybe not, but Musou games, yeah.
I mean, it's still a different take on it.
Yeah, it's still like you still get to see these characters in a different way, even if the story isn't great, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something just inherently fun about the idea of, oh, you get to play as Urbosa, right? Or you get to play as Zelda, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
That definitely has its own appeals, yeah. And that's for sure.
So I haven't played the game myself, but something I really took note of as I watched other people play it, or just heard people talk about it, just the surprising amount of like diversity in like the characters, like the movesets, right? Every character seems to be really fleshed out in a very like just fascinating way, and it has a lot of characters, right? Like this is a content-filled game,
I mean, that could be said about like the first Hyrule Warriors as well, but instead of like the characters, it's like in terms of like the weapons,
right?
They had quite diverse range of it, but that's why I kind of glossed it over a little bit, because like that is what you'd expect from Musou games, like that sort of level of diversity and those levels of intricacy.
Would you though? Because like the Hyrule Warriors games both are known for this, but I've seen a lot. Like I mean, even in other Nintendo Warriors games, like Fire Emblem Warriors, like there was basically 8 movesets spread across 32 characters or something like that. It was like it was
okay. I haven't played.
Sorry. Yeah, it was like they reused. They were so many clones in that game, so many reused, movesets. But
even the DLC was clones.
Yeah, even the DLC was clones in that game. Isn't that ridiculous?
Mm-hmm.
But in Age of Calamity, it really just feels like every character plays different from the other.
Maybe I don't know. Like I've played. Like I found like a lot of diversity in the weapons, the moveset that was provided by the weapons, because like those characters felt differently in the original one. But this one definitely has. I guess this one definitely has that feeling of like diversity, because like the special move that each character gets lends itself to allowing for more mechanics to be used for these characters. So you have Urbosa with her lightning mechanics that you can just use and integrate into your strong attacks. You have Impa with the ability to create clones from enemies that she kills and get stronger. You have even Zelda with her fucking rune attacks, just the diversity of just using that.
The fucking worst.
Worst, but let's ignore that part. But it's just through the fact that they use like special attacks is why they've allowed for increased speciality, like crazy divergence in their regular movesets.
Be sure to listen to the Jump Up Supercast Game Club for more in-depth about Age of Calamity. Gonna plug that again. But let's just go in snake order then. Saf, you get to go again. What do you want to talk about? Matt, what's your second game of the year?
Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive. Definitive. Let me try that again. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and I will not edit out the first one because I'm probably too lazy. But
you hack! This is not even a 2020 game. This is a.
This is the better version of the 2012 game that came out. 2010, 12.
2010 in Japan, 11 in Europe, 12 in North America.
Fuck me.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, this is the definitive edition in which they really, really did a lot to, like, add a lot of quality of life aspects to the game, make side quests easier, make the graphics of the main story much more beautiful and appealing, and they added a fair amount of story content to the original game, some post-game content that allows you to have some closure and allow a couple of other characters in that game as well, which is a nice little addition to that game, to that story.
I mean, this was already one of the best RPGs ever made, right? Just one of the finest
Indeed.
RPGs we've ever played. I mean, is this the highest RPG on the list? I guess Dark Souls and Nier Automata are there. But, you know, Xenoblade, we hold it in really high regard already. Most people, I think, do who have played it, right? But they've just made it so much better now with Definitive Edition.
Abso-fucking-lutely. I don't know how many hours I've spent in Definitive Edition, but it's just so easy to just jump back in and get lost and just do everything all over again in that game. It is just fantastic. What a joy to fucking go explore again for a third time, sorry.
Crazy, man.
You've played this game quite a bit. The change to side quests, I think especially, right, was just, it makes the side quests manageable, which they were not in the original game in the slightest.
Yeah.
Right? And then just that change alone really adds to the experience, I feel, overall.
Yeah. I'm glad that you got to play this game for the first time all the way through with the Definitive Edition. It was one New Year's game, and I'm glad that we pushed it off into this year. Thanks, Hills, because I got to play the Definitive Edition instead, and I'm glad I did, because it seemed like they made a lot of improvements to the gameplay, and it was a great time. I really enjoyed it.
Alrighty. Yeah. Well, Xenoblade. I guess it's my turn again. My next game I'm going to talk about, I guess I'll go most recent as well, Saf. How about that? Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. So, this game came out in, like, October, I think? Also pretty recently. It was announced same year. It was announced this year, just out of nowhere during like Keighley's Summer Game Fest, and I was just like, surprise! It's out a couple months later.
And this is your special category.
No. I actually swapped it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this is just like this is my just part of my normal game of the year, I guess. But I love the original trilogy. I really do. Right, Crash 1, 2. Well, 1 is all right, but 2 and 3, I really love 2 and 3. These are my childhood games, right? And after 3, or I guess after racing, Crash has just been shit, right? Just been awful for years and years and years until those remakes finally came out, and now they followed up with a game that, I mean, they changed the art style, but I think this is the best Crash has ever looked, right? Regardless of what you can say about the game, like this is just the best that Crash and company have ever looked. Like, this is such a pretty game. It runs at a solid 60 frames per second on the enhanced consoles, right? And they managed to take what I loved about those original games, but expand upon it in a very interesting ways. Really modernized it in a way that, like, you know, they got rid of lives. They added a lot of things. The masks, there's 4 masks that each kind of really change up how you play. And at first I was worried that they'd be pretty gimmicky, but they actually fit into the level design very, very well. The level design, by the way, just really great throughout the game. Even the story and like the cutscenes, I think they did a really good job of just like making this just a very charming game. The cutscenes almost feel like a kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon kind of feel, you know, which I thought was just really fun. In Crash 3, they added vehicle levels to like mix up the pace, but those ended up being like so much of the game.
Bad.
And they're not
bad.
good, right? But Crash 4, they mix up the pace, but instead of doing vehicle levels or things that just completely change up, they're still all platforming levels, but they have different characters, right? So you can play as Dingodile, you can play as this alternate universe Tana, and you can play as Cortex. And there's like 2 levels with each that are mandatory, but otherwise there's a bunch of levels that are optional for them. But I went and played them because they're fun, right? It's a fun way to experience those levels. It really is just a fun way to shake up the I guess I'm not tedium, right? But just break the pace a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. My only gripe with it, and this is such a weird gripe to have, the collectibles are overwhelming. And like you could say, you don't have to collect them all.
Yeah.
And you're right, I don't have to collect them all, so I didn't.
Well, I mean, it's good that you don't have to collect them all, because if it was like a fucking rareware game,
yeah, it is. I mean, it really is just obnoxious. I mean, I've never seen more obnoxious collectibles in my life.
I mean, come on.
I mean, I don't know. This gives like Donkey Kong 64 a run for its money. I think Donkey Kong 64 is much more tedious, right? But this is so much harder. So much harder. Because basically every single level has 6 gems, right? One of them you get the classic way. You break all the crates,
crystals,
right? That's just classic Crash gameplay.
Gems. Yeah.
But then one of them you find hidden in the level. Okay, that's fine. You added one collectible to find every level, right? That's fine. But then you have to only die 3 times or less in the level. If you die more than 3 times, you cannot get that gem. And then now the Wumpa
Better than
fruit.
not dying at all.
Yeah, though it gets worse, I promise you. But then you have to do then the Wumpa fruit are now their own collectible, and you have to get 80% of the Wumpa fruit in every level to get 3 more gems, right? Okay, that sounds like a lot. Maybe it's still manageable though, right? But then there's these inverted levels, and they are cool as a concept. You're playing the level, but it's mixed up in a way, either they reversed it or whatever, and then the art style changes in all of these, right? And sometimes they add like different gameplay mechanics as well, right? Hey, cool way to extend the game. But you have to do 6 more gems with that, right? And then you gotta
the same gems as the other one, the regular.
Well, so they mix it up. So you still have to get all the crates. The hidden gem is now in a different place, and they mix up the crate placement, and they mix up the Wumpa fruit placement. And like I said, the level itself is also different, right? Like it's the same layout, but they'll change things around, and it'll be different enough, I guess, right? But you have to do the 80% of the Wumpa fruit again. You have to get within 3 deaths again. All that jazz, right? Then there's the time trials. Okay, time trials.
I was about to say they took out.
Time trials are in there.
I guess not.
For both the regular and inverted versions, right? And then there's the perfect time trials, where you cannot die at all, right? And you have to get all 6 collectibles in that run in the allotted time.
There you go.
And you do it again inverted.
Nice.
So that's ridiculous. I know that this game is almost, I think it almost broke Gerard the completionist. He said it might be the worst game that he's ever had to complete.
Yeah, because just doing a completionist run of this game is truly just a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I should say, I did ignore all of it basically, and I had a good time.
Yeah,
you did the right thing.
Because
he ignored half the game.
It doesn't take away from the fact that the base game is still just very, very good, right? It's just a good platformer, and a great game for Crash fans. It's just, again, overwhelming. There's too much content.
Yeah. Who would have thought that would be a bad thing?
Right? But yeah, that's my little spiel on Crash 4. I would highly recommend playing it. Just don't go for the platinum. I'll tell you that much.
Don't try to 100% it.
All right, Noah, I guess it's your turn.
All right. So, as a big fan of the Resident Evil series, I was quite excited when the Resident Evil 3 remake was announced and came out this year. It was good, definitely a good game. For Resident Evil 3 game, though, I was a little bit disappointed because they had cut out quite a bit of the content that was in the original Resident Evil 3. And Resident Evil 3, the original, already was
a short game.
A little shorter. Yeah, it was shorter than 1 or 2. they did like some of the things they did really well. Like they added like 1 or 2 sections that wasn't in the original, which was quite scary. With the bugs, it was pretty good. And they did ramp up Nemesis's design, which is really cool. They made him a lot more terrifying, a lot more threatening. But
Did they give him a nose?
No, they didn't. But like, I don't know. Like again, as a game itself, I beat it. I played it. I was like, okay, this is a fun game. I liked it, but deep down, I was kind of disappointed because a lot of in the original Resident Evil 3, like especially with the encounters with Nemesis, which was like the whole thing about the game was revolved around Nemesis. Is like he was always a constant threat, no matter where you were, especially in the city. And his encounters random. You didn't know if it was going to pop out or when he was going to pop out. If he did pop out, you had these little cutscenes where you had to like choose if you wanted to hide or fight him or run away. And you get like different little mini cutscenes depending on what you do. But in here, it was just like, it felt so scripted every single time you found him that it kind of took away the charm that the original had, or Nemesis in general had.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard is that the way Nemesis was implemented in this game was pretty disappointing. It's weird because from all accounts what I've heard, this game is a totally fine game, right? Probably a good game, right? But it seems to be a disappointment both as a follow-up to the Resident Evil 2 remake, right?
Yes.
And
100%. Resident Evil 2, like the remake, they did it beautifully.
Yeah.
Like, I still, like, I mean, even Resident Evil 2 remake cut out some stuff that the original had that they didn't include in remake, but it was still, like, on its own, like, it was great. It was, like, a good, nice refresher of Resident Evil 2. Yeah, but the Resident Evil 3 is just, like, I don't know.
Yeah, and then I guess just even as a remake
come out
of 3,
a year after, right? It only came out a year after.
It came out the year after.
So obviously they reused assets, which is completely fine. I support that idea of like them reusing the assets and the map and everything, but it was even smaller.
Yeah, and that is disappointing. But you know, it still was good enough for you. I mean, you're clearly a big enough Resident Evil fan that you still put it on your Game of the Year list, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely see why it was disappointing for a lot of people.
Yeah. And it's just cut out. They cut out like they cut out half the game. Like they didn't have the clock tower. They didn't have the park. And
fair enough. All right, Ills, what's your number 2?
Sure. Okay, I'll go with Spider-Man Miles Morales, which came out very recently. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember when, but about when the next gen consoles launched. Yeah, I mean it's pretty much a direct continuation from the original Spider-Man, except you play as Miles Morales this time. Yeah. And much like you usually get in Spider-Man tales, this one is actually like sort of an origin story. Instead of what you got in the original Spider-Man game, because he was already an established superhero, Miles is trying to, figure out his place in New York City and as a superhero now.
Yeah.
And discovering these new abilities that he gets. And yeah, I mean, that makes him extremely relatable. It makes him endearing. Like, you really care about Miles and his relationship with his friends, with his mom. Like, the storytelling in this game is a lot more personal, I
wholeheartedly agree.
Than the original game. And I think that's what makes it... I think the storytelling is better in this game because of that. The one thing I would say to counter that is that it's a little bit too convenient. Like, a lot of people are very closely related to Miles that it seems a little bit far-fetched for it to all, like...
It all comes together in a way that, like...
Converge around him.
Yeah, like everything is just based around Miles, essentially, it feels, right?
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, in the original, it felt a little bit more like the world involved bigger people with, like... It didn't all revolve around Peter.
Yeah.
Which I thought, I mean, it's a smaller game, so what do you expect?
Yeah, I guess, this was just more of a personal... I guess it was just weird that, like, there was still this, like, big, like, city-destroying plot, essentially, but it still was, like, that personal, I guess, is just weird, right?
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, I mean, the there's a way to make that work. It just felt a little contrived
Yeah,
here.
that's understandable.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will say, like, the ending really, it's a really good ending.
Yes.
Like, it's pitch perfect. They make all the contrived factors that I feel it feels like it comes together well.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed that ending, and it stuck with me.
Yeah, I know. I really enjoyed that ending as well.
And much like the original Spider-Man game, I mean, the swinging is fantastic. The combat is really strong. I like the addition of the Venom attacks. Yeah, I mean, the flashbacks that you get with him and his friend Finn, and also his father, are really, really cool. I mean, yeah, all that stuff is great, and of course the relationship between him and his mother, really good.
I think for me, Miles, I don't know if this is a popular opinion or not, but like I enjoyed it personally more than the first game, right? Because I enjoyed just the more personal feeling. I felt like I could just relate to Miles a little bit more than Peter, right? But I think what really shined in this game, and something that I didn't like in the first game, I loved doing the side content in this game. You know, because to me, all of it just felt so meaningful. You know,
I didn't like the bases that much.
Yeah, I mean the bases
they still were,
but there was
great.
A, less of them, and B, I feel like they were more involved in the story, and like they had more like an interesting narrative, I guess, to them. I guess, right? They were an interesting part of the narrative. Like, they fleshed out,
I guess,
the story a little bit more, right? Which I liked. But yeah, I mean, the bases are still the weakest part, right? Because it's just combat waves, and combat waves are just not fun, right? But I really enjoyed the combat in this game, which is surprising because I didn't like it in the first game, right? But I think that
I felt like the I forget what they're called, like the power-ups in the first game, I felt like they were missing.
Oh, like the gadgets?
No, he had gadgets. I mean, like the suit power.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
In this game, he just like has augmentations.
Right.
Or, he just has like equipable stuff. But in the first game, he has like a power-up that comes with it.
Right.
And that just made Peter feel stronger to me. But I don't know. I still.
I guess I just really. I feel like the Venom attacks and the invisibility just came together in a way that I think it just made the combat feel more fulfilling to me, right? Like, just the sheer fact of, I can go invisible to basically to
hide.
That way, when I fuck up the stealth, it's not just over, right?
I mean, yeah, it makes the stealth easy.
Yeah, I guess it does. Just maybe it makes it too easy, but I don't know. I enjoyed it because I hated like the second you made a slip up in that first game. Okay, well, I guess you're just fighting 10 million enemies, right?
Don't make a slip up.
I guess so. Yeah. But I really I loved the side missions in this game, especially the way they culminate, right? Because
I like the story behind, like, gathering the music, for your uncle. I hated doing them. Like, I didn't particularly like looking for the sounds. I thought that was kind of annoying.
I thought it was kind of cute. I don't know. I didn't hate it that much, but I definitely love the story behind it. Right, like, just you get to hear more about Miles' relationship with his uncle and his dad. Right. And you get that kind of backstory, but specifically, like, not even just like the collectibles or anything, which I like that I really enjoyed, but the side missions, that they have their own little story to them, right? And it kind of just culminates,
Like the ones with the app.
Yeah, the ones with the app, yeah. And it culminates in this way of, like, Miles just kind of... I guess I felt like that was a really strong resolution to him finding his place as like, a second Spider-Man, right? Because it's like, New York City already has a Spider-Man, right? What am I, right? And I feel like he finds that answer to those side missions, and he really grows to love Harlem and, all that jazz.
And they grow to love him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's just a really touching way to...
It also helps, like, the ending ties that together.
Yeah.
Like, they make a strong point of that, like the community coming together for him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Brandon, what's your second game?
Hey. Okay. Well, Paper Mario Origami King. Played that, beat it this year, and it was wild how it got announced and was released like extremely shortly after it was announced. Was it like a month or two or something like that? It just got announced and came out, and it was like, holy crap, there's new Paper Mario. And was it good? Yeah, it was good. I did like it. I had a good time playing it. Was it as good as the first two? Or the first three, even? No. No, it wasn't. But it was better than the last couple outings, so Paper Mario's getting better. So
what a rave review.
Super Paper Mario is really getting its props
I mean,
right now.
Brandon's wrong. Paper Mario is not better than this game, but I'm not going to touch on that.
It is, but you know, it took that crappy formula that they had the last two with Sticker Star and Color Splash, and just threw it out the window for a new battle system. Which, thank God, 'cause that battle system sucked.
Good.
And the new one is interesting. I don't love it, but it's fine.
It's serviceable,
This ring
right?
battle system. Yeah.
It's acceptable.
I think more so though, I think like this game just like, I think it's charming enough to get you through the whole thing, right?
That's the thing. That's the thing. The writing is still there, okay? And
even like
the locales are interesting.
like the battle system is not the end all, right? Like they have like interesting other things going for it, like the boss battles.
Boss battles are good. I like the boss battles. I actually enjoy
those. Are legitimately interesting. And then the other thing that I found interesting was the big, like, I guess like pinata looking things, right? Or not the paper macho enemies, right?
Oh yeah, paper mache.
No, they call them macho in the game.
Oh,
I didn't just think paper mache.
Those were. I mean, those were you fight them outside of a normal.
Yeah, and so there was just ways to mix it up, and I thought those largely worked well, right?
Yeah, and the chapters were interesting. I thought they were good. They weren't like level based like shitty Sticker Star, and they weren't, the battles. It just was better.
Yeah.
It just was better, a step up in regards to the last two games, and. You know, it's a good thing that they made a decent Paper Mario game again. Overall, I did enjoy it, and I would say if you're a fan of the series but were turned off by how crappy Sticker Star was and possibly how crappy
Color Splash
was, this is one to get to play. It's It's good game.
Yeah, I think like the mediocre parts about it like don't bog it down enough for me to not be able to enjoy the rest of what the game has to offer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially because like all the locales are very interesting, right? They're more open. They're more open too, so it's not just like like you said, not just little levels, right? Which I thought was a lot better.
Yeah,
and the music. Music is great.
I had some good laughs. Music is very good. Battle theme is great. And I had some laughs. The writing was great, and even surprisingly sometimes sad.
Yeah.
So I would say you should play it. Honestly, it's if you like the series, you should give it a try because it's
worth a shot.
But are there experience points?
There's not experience points.
There's no experience points, but don't let the last couple games or that turn you away from it.
Yeah, on its own merits, it's a very good game. I would say still. Right.
Yes.
No experience points, no buy.
All right, Brandon, what's your third one? You get to just snake back around.
Third one, I'm trying to keep it brief because
it's a bit long podcast, but
yeah. Third game though, this one's a little surprising. I played a lot of games. We talked about a lot that I've already played too, so I just decided to pick a game that I thought was a fun multiplayer game, and it's not Among Us because, but it is a game that actually is an annual series at this point. It's called Jackbox Party Pack 7. And I've always liked the Jackbox games. We all play them together, and I think they're very fun to play. And this, honestly, 7, I think is one of the best ones.
There's not a stinker in there. There's really not a stinker
in there. Yeah. All 5 of the games, I was like, wow, these are all really fun. They did a really good job. And I think Jackbox Party Pack 7 is, up there with like 4 in like 3 and 4 as like one of the best party packs, because they usually do have like one crap game that you're just like, nobody wants to play that ever again. But yeah, I mean, I would play any of these games at any time. You have some really fun ones like The Devil in the Details is really neat. You kind of have to work together, but you also want to be selfish. You're a bunch.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's a really fun game. It gets hectic. Everybody's screaming at each other. It's really cool. You have one where you have to do these like PowerPoint presentations, and that's really fun as well. And you have what the hell is the other one? The one where you create characters to fight each other, which is really funny. It's a drawing game, which they always have a drawing game in there, but this one's really fun, where you create characters that end up fighting against each other, and everybody votes on who they think who should win the fight based on the category. That's good. It's got Quiplash 3. Quiplash is just a fun game, no matter what. You fill in a blank for a funny text prompt, and people vote on which one they think is funniest. And then Blather Around is one which is kind of neat, where you pick a category or person, place, thing kind of thing, and then you have like limited words to try to describe it to people, and people have to try to guess what it is in the time. And it's just all of them. It's a very solid pack, and I think if you're looking for something to play, if you haven't heard of Jackbox, I don't know where you've been, but definitely check it out because it's worth playing with other people.
Alrighty. Hills, game number 3.
All right. Well, I guess we're gonna go with Spiritfarer. This is a game that I played fairly recently. I think it was October. And yeah, much like what you've heard of Animal Crossing, this is one of the more relaxing kind of games you have. Not like a serious central narrative, but each character that you pick up on the Spiritfarer boat that you have, you're taking them on their way to the afterlife, basically, and they all have like these final tasks that they want to complete before they go. And you get to really care about these characters. They each have their own unique personalities, unique wants. You interact with them. You hug them a lot. You help them out a lot. Yeah, I mean, they're just super cool. They're all like animal based characters. But
it's another like feel good warm game.
Yeah, it's one of those games. But also like, a lot of what you're doing is also like growing stuff on your boat. Like you can keep building up your boat. You can add a whole bunch of buildings. You can grow like plants. You can grow trees. You can fish. You can do like these mini games that each of them have. Like one of them is to like catch lightning in a bottle whenever you get to a certain place on the map. You open up the world map gradually as you go around it to different islands. And that's how you discover more and more of the world around you. I wish there was more of a central narrative about Stella, the main character that you play as, but they hint at one. There's a lot of good imagery there, but yeah, it's mostly focused on the characters that you're helping out.
It looks like a really cool game. It's a game that I played at PAX and I thought was really neat. It's on Game Pass. I keep meaning to play it. I saw there's also there's a co-op in there as well, where one person plays as the cat.
Oh, really? I didn't even know about the co-op element.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, there's not that much to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like I mean, as a co-op, you're probably just going to be doing like the farming stuff.
Yeah, I played the demo,
helping out around the boat,
and it was just like you're both kind of just running from each point together. Really,
Fair enough.
So, it's still neat, if you and another person want to experience the story together,
And also, I mean, it's fun to build up your boat, to constantly keep upgrading it, to move all the buildings around because you can constantly adjust them however you like. To get more and more of the buildings, because each time you pick up one of the characters you have to build their specific house for them, which is really neat. You get to interact with them. Yeah.
Nice, neat little game. That's another game I have installed thanks to Xbox Game Pass.
The Game Pass version for some reason had like a glitch for me. Like,
oh really?
It wouldn't let me select the start button at the menu. Like, it wouldn't let me get rid of the menu, so I just played it on Switch. But
weird.
Oh, fair enough. Oh,
I feel like that.
very
If
weird.
that was,
Hopefully-
it must be patched. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, hopefully they patched that out by now. But all right. No, what's your third game?
Fall Guys.
Fall Guys.
It hit big
That
when it
game.
first came out. It was really fun. I guess the genre would be considered battle royale, but
Yeah, it's a battle royale.
yeah.
For sure.
it reminded me a lot of Doritos Crash Course when it first came out.
Good old Doritos Crash Course.
But it's a fun, like, you gotta get the crown. You have to be the last survivor. You play a bunch of races, games, survival. Yeah, there's basically
It's basically just like obstacle
yeah, it's
courses,
like 60
right?
people.
A
You
bunch of
started
obstacle
around with
courses.
60 people. Half, like a good 40 of them, like you have to get through the game. They get qualified to go into the next round. And the other 20 get disqualified and they lose. And then it just keeps going game after game, eliminating more players as you go until like you got the final 10 or around or 8 or 12 or whatever the last number is, and you beat the final game. Whoever grabs the crown wins or survives to the last second wins. And it's really, really charming and fun. I have my gripes with the grabbing mechanic, but
Yeah.
but it's not exactly a precise racer or game.
Yeah.
It's really goofy. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's just a good time
Mhm.
all around.
It's a good time, but also like, man, I wish you could cancel out of games before it has to start up again. Fuck me, dude. It's such a waste of time. And watching other people play, oh man, it's
Yeah, in the beginning
fu-
it had
not fun.
Yeah, it's in the beginning it was pretty rough. You had to they had like a bit of a struggle with the servers, especially getting into games, but
They've
they
updated
eventually
a lot
patched
since.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they keep adding new games and new seasons, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. I mean, I would have stopped playing it a long time ago if they didn't keep adding new content to it.
Yeah.
But because they do, it just keeps me coming back, and I just have fun because I mean, it's 3D platforming, right? And I just think I like platformers, and then you combine that with just the silliness of like a Wipeout style game show, and to me that's just fun, and I think it's even more fun playing it with friends.
Oh yeah.
So
No, I definitely don't
like
play
it.
it on my own.
Fair
I
enough.
only play with friends. So.
Yeah, I play it on my own, but it's a whole nother thing. Because I don't know, I just have fun playing it. It can of course get repetitive because sometimes you play the same games over and over again. And there was a problem with hackers for a while. It was annoying, but they've patched that as well, and it's not a problem anymore. And I just think all the updates and stuff have made the game much better than it was at launch,
Yeah,
which is good.
For
So,
sure.
Sounds good. Fall Guys.
And it-
all right. And then
It
we
was on the
have,
top of the charts until Among Us came along, but
Yeah, I mean, like I played some of it when it came out.
you hate it.
A lot of. Yeah, I'm trying not to say anything negative.
Say you hate it. pal.
It is I get why people like it. It's a fun time.
But I hate it.
But I hate it. All right, my turn. So my final game of the year game is Hades. I think me and Ilse and Will have talked about it a lot on this very podcast. But Hades, I mean, this is Supergiant's fourth game, I think. They made Bastion, Transistor, Pyre. And all their games are very strong, both mechanically and narratively, I think, right? I think that's kind of a through line of all their games. But they're always like,
And gorgeous.
single player adventure, like and gorgeous. That how could I not mention that, right?
And have great soundtracks.
And soundtracks, yeah. These are all consistent throughout all their games, right? And but this game takes that Supergiant, I guess, formula, if you want to call it, but puts it into a roguelike game. And at first, when I hear roguelike, I'm immediately just shut off, right? I'm like, I don't have time to play a game that just never ends, basically.
It ends.
Right? And this game ends, right? But that's not even why I necessarily like it, right? It's that, I mean, first of all, even just aside from everything else, just as a roguelike game from a gameplay perspective, every run, it feels so good. It really nails that one more time, like, let me just go for one more run, right? and the way that the weapons mix it up, and the way all the enemy encounters I find interesting. The bosses are super great. All that jazz, right? Gameplay wise, this game is great, but I think that's not what makes this game special. It just helps a lot, right? But that's not what necessarily makes this game special. It's the fact that they made this roguelike game and incorporated that into a narrative, right? And so every time you die, it advances the plot, and it's part of the overall world and part of the overall narrative, right? And the best part of it is, I mean, like, after every run, even from a gameplay perspective, you just know more, right? So, your next run will be better based on that. You get materials to make your stuff better, get new weapons, all the jazz, right? So gameplay-wise, every run, you do learn something every single run, right? Or you do gain something, just stats-wise or whatever. But what I find really interesting, every time I die, characters in the lobby have new lines of dialogue, right? And you learn more and more about... And it's all fully voice acted, great voice acting, by the way. And there's so many fucking characters in this game, by the way, right? And you just keep learning more and more about these characters, and with that, you learn more and more about the overall, this entire world, and it's just so engrossing, right? Like, this is it. I love all these characters. I love the writing is so strong in this game, right?
Yeah. I think the characters, it's not that there are a lot of characters, it's that there are a lot of meaningful characters. Like, each one makes an impact. Each one has a distinctive personality, style to them that, like, you really want to get to know more about.
And that's what drives you, right? You just want to know more about each one of these characters just as individuals, right? And I've never seen that for a roguelike game. And I just haven't, that it's so unique in what it does. And it just all comes together in this beautiful way, right? Like, I mean, I think it says something that this is one of the strongest games of the year from an art direction standpoint, from soundtrack, from the gameplay, and then to the writing. Like, but it's all melded into this one game that's so big. Yeah. Right?
I'd say there's basically nothing wrong with this game.
No, yeah. And so, like, when I'm talking about, like, the best game of the year, right? I honestly cannot picture it being anything other than Hades,
Did you beat the game?
I got close the last run. Yesterday I got very close. I'm still working on it. Still getting there.
You have to beat it 10 times to get the true ending. But
yeah, I know. I but so I probably won't beat it this year. But even before beating it, I'm already liking it so much. You know.
And I will say, like, the original ending, the first ending you get, it's very good. The second ending, also very good. It's fucking it's strong. Like, man. God, I love the soundtrack though. Jesus.
Oh man, the soundtrack is phenomenal. You know, I don't know. This is just a perfect package all around.
Would you recommend it on PC or Switch?
Either one.
I put it on Switch, but it works either way. Like, whatever platform you prefer, because it just runs super well on Switch. But if you prefer playing on a computer, that's
also
fine
has cross save now. I think, right?
That is true. It has cross save, so if you want both,
I'm trying to figure out what control scheme I want: keyboard or controller.
No, you can play controller on PC.
True. On PC, they even recommend controller.
That's what I did.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, like, you can't go wrong. You can't. You really can't. So, yeah, that's Hades. Safi.
Yeah.
What's your final game of the year?
Final game of the year. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Which is fantastic.
I'm already sighing.
Yeah. I love this game. I love this game a lot. The ending was meh, but we can ignore the ending because, like, the rest of the game I had a lot of fun with. I had a lot of fun with the combat system. The combat system was fantastic. The music was outstanding. The characters are enjoyable. Like, I really, really like Cloud. I really, really like what they've done with Tifa. I liked the expansion of the Avalanche crew, like their characters and their personality. That was really fun to explore, and their backstories were really interesting.
Jessie's way better here than she ever was before.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the original game, the Avalanche characters are basically just nothing.
Yeah.
right? But like you really care about them in this remake.
100%. Yeah. And they incorporate other elements from other like Final Fantasy media as well, like other backstories from out there. Like it's fun. It's interesting to hear about Aerith's adoptive mother's backstory, like how and the hint she puts about being a soldier, ex-soldier, etc. And it's fun to see like I don't know if I want to say this because it's spoilers. The secret lab and how they kind of like incorporate elements of like Dirge of Cerberus into this game.
No wonder I hate that part.
Which is like, which is interesting, and again, it's like they really put in quite a fair amount of effort to just make this more a much more expansive game than area, I should say, than in the first game. Some of the other elements is a bit meh, but it's fine. I can live with it with what they've done with this the entirety of the game. The fucking Colosseum, that was great. The final fight in that Colosseum was fucking fantastic.
It was
that.
Fantastically dog shit.
You liked the Hell House?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I loved it. I loved the challenge of it, and it was just so out of nowhere as well. It's like I can't believe they found a way to incorporate this fucking ridiculous enemy in this game.
I'm glad they had it in. It's not a fun fight.
It's such a drag fighting that thing. I love this game. 16 out of 18 chapters.
15.
I love this game. Like I have
15.
For me, it's 16. But I think that I do have major gripes with the way they ended things, especially just mostly the way they wrote the characters in the end. I thought.
Well, isn't it like?
Well, also just the way they ended it.
Well, yeah, but that's well discussed, I think, on the internet.
Yeah.
But
well, even though it's considering it's like the first episode out of 3, it's still bad.
The end I don't like. Yeah,
just the end.
So yeah, but I cannot say like I did like anything less than I just really loved this game. I think the combat system is one of the most interesting combat systems we've had in a Final Fantasy game.
Because each character is so unique.
Yeah, because you're right. Because each character just feels so different from each other, right? Especially as you start experimenting with the other weapons to level them up to get more to get their skill that you could just use on any weapon. Then, right? That just adds a lot to the game. Like, Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, Barret. Those are your 4 playable characters, and they're just significantly different from each other.
There's a little bit of friction there, like having open movement, but having to still use the ATB system. Like, it feels weird to be able to move wherever you want, but then you can't use an item until you have this like gauge all the way up. Sometimes, but it's like.
Yeah. And so that it can be a little awkward at times, right? Because
but for the most part, I think it really works well.
It just blended real time and turn based in a way, or I guess ATB in a way, right? That I think just was really interesting and definitely far better than FF15's
much
action combat.
I mean,
right?
It doesn't take much to improve upon 15's action combat.
Yeah, sure, but like I genuinely liked this combat, right? And the soundtrack in this game is phenomenal, right? Like some of the remixes from the original game just really, and some of the new pieces actually took me by surprise.
Oh yeah,
stuff that wasn't even based in the original game, right? The way they fleshed out the world of Final Fantasy VII and Midgar in particular, up until like very end. I was very pessimistic going in. I was like, anything they add, I'm gonna hate. Mm-hmm. But the way they fleshed out the world and the characters, I loved almost all of it. Yeah, I really did. And I think this is, even though like I know this is just part 1, like to me it really did feel like a fleshed out game on its own. Yeah, right.
I mostly agree with that. I wish they would have ended it back at the tower, like I wanted. I mean, they didn't need the last bit. It was fucking weird. I didn't like, the whispers that were in the game. That whole, the whole culmination that comes together at the end. But also, I mean, I feel like now looking back on it, I feel like if they were going to change as much as they changed, I wish they would have centered the story more around the Avalanche people. Then, like, bring them closer to the forefront. Don't just like throw them away at like chapter 5 or some shit like that. Whatever it is.
Yeah, I can see.
Right. Yeah, I think that's totally fair criticism. I also thought like the writing of the I cared about the party like more than I ever have. You know.
Yeah.
I just thought they were very well written until the end. But yeah, no. I mean, overall, I don't know. This is just. I mean, as a huge FF7 fan, right? Huge FF7 fan. I think Saf can back me up here. Like he is as well. Yeah. I think just this lived up in a way that I did not expect it to.
100%. Yeah.
And so
it really is really good. And like as long as they play to the strength that they've showed in this game, in terms of like the characters, in terms of the music, as long as they kind of expand upon that, and they've left themselves a lot of room to do so with the involvement. I think with the involvement of Kyrie, maybe, as well as fucking Johnny, because you know he's going to be in the next part for sure.
God, I hope not.
No, he is. He is literally. You see him in fucking Costa del Sol in the original Final Fantasy VII. He is definitely
I can
going
live
to be
without it.
Yeah, no, but you know that they're going to have like expanded roles in the next game, and you kind of. I'm excited to see what they do with it, and I'm hoping that they actually do great things. Like they could just.
Oh, one last thing I wanted to mention about this game: the wall market segment was just magical.
Oh yeah,
that may be just my singular favorite moment, like playing in a video game this year. You know, everything about wall market, fucking incredible.
Yeah.
You know,
I liked it a lot. I will say it felt a little bit fillery at some points. Like the Coliseum did not feel like it fit there necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, like the Coliseum, I would agree that, especially the Hell House, the Coliseum was, I think, the weakest part of it.
As much as I like fighting
right.
in the Coliseum, like, it doesn't feel like it fits there. And they also do this again in the fucking Shinra building, where they have another fucking mini Coliseum thing.
Yeah. And the story-wise, it was kind of fillery, right? But I didn't mind it because I just, I loved going through Wall Market with Cloud and Aerith. I really loved all the characters they introduced. I love what they did with Cloud and Aerith,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Honeybee Inn segment, which is so notorious in the original game, right?
Yes.
And is bad. Like, is a probably, like, especially nowadays, is a mark against that game, right? But the way they turned that around in this game...
Yeah, they made it work somehow.
It's just...
Absolutely.
I don't know how they made it work, but they did, and it worked really well, so... yeah. Kudos to them.
100%.
All right. This has been a long podcast, but we still got a little bit more to go. Don't worry. But we're going to be quick on these last. So we're going to just do individual categories. So we all came up with the category and just kind of give a brief little snippet about it. But yeah. All right. Zaf, you start. Yeah. What's your category and what's your game?
My category is the Late Bloomer Award for games that have just taken a little bit longer to find the success that they rightfully deserve, which goes to Among Us, which came out last year, I believe it came out.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. 2018.
2018, yeah. 2018, it came out, and then for some strange reason, like, some streamer decided to play it, and now it just became super big and super huge. And for good reason. Like, if you're a fan of, if you've played, like, stuff like Werewolf or Town of Suspect or Salem, sorry, Town called Salem. There's so many of these types of different games, but if you play those types of games, like, you know what you're getting into when you play Among Us, where it's literally just two people are fucking baddies out to kill you, and you need to try and figure that shit out. Yeah, or 3, depending on how one of the fucking players play. But you just need to figure out who the fuck does that. And there's a lot of room, and there's a lot of flexibility in the game that allows you to just play whatever style you want to play. You can fuck with someone's mind if you want to. Like, I remember a fucking session where I literally saw a body and I just stood over and hit it. And just stood over it and just knew who it was that was going to kill them, but refused to say anything. And so the person that found me and found that body, he said, "Oh, I found the body right there. Saf did it." And I was sitting there going, "What body? there is no body. There's nothing like that. And just drove that person insane. I got ejected. I wasn't a and I wasn't an imposter, but I fucked with him mentally. I psychologically broke him down, and I loved every fucking moment of it because he got ejected as well, and he lost. It was so fucking beautiful, and that's the best part about this game. Is just like the idea of just being able to play whatever style you want and just have a good time with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean the game is very customizable in its rule sets, which allows you to mix it up and it kind of keep it fresh. But I think the most fascinating part about Among Us, well, besides the fact that just this game came out of fucking nowhere, especially being a 2-year-old game, right? But I think what fascinates me about this game so much and why I like it just so much is that the way the meta evolves in your own friend groups as you keep playing and keep playing, because you start learning more and more about each other, about the way each other plays. You kind of start noticing each other's
notice their lying voice.
Yeah, their patterns or their tics or whatever, right?
Yes.
And some people are really, really good at being the imposter, but then they suck ass as the crew, or vice versa, right? Some people are so good at sussing out the imposter, but the second they're in that role themselves, they're just kind of what do I do, right? And I feel like I've played this game with so many different friend groups at this point, right? And the way the meta has evolved just so differently from each of those groups, it just keeps the game so fresh and so interesting to this day, even though they still haven't really added that much. They're going to, obviously, because the game is such a big success. Mm-hmm. And they've already outlined so many ideas they have that I imagine this is a game that I'm going to keep coming back to for years to come, I think,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and also this game came out in 2018. Last month it had 500 million monthly active users.
Billion?
Can you believe that? 500 million.
Holy shit.
500 million individual people played it last month.
I mean, it's got the same legs as Animal Crossing in terms of reaching people who don't usually play video games, is what I've noticed.
Yeah, being on mobile also helped with that too, bringing new people.
I mean, it's a free-to-play game on mobile, right? It's $5 on Steam and now Switch, but even on Steam alone, they said 3% of the user base was PC, so that means 15 million people bought it on PC at a minimum.
Good God.
And then hundreds of millions more are playing it on mobile, and this is a team of 3 people.
And
isn't that crazy?
They're making a shitload of money, so good for them. And Good for them. Concept. Fun, simple concept.
Yeah.
It's not your average AAA game with the best graphics and gameplay. It's just a simple game. It's just became the most popular. It's insane.
Sometimes that's all you need.
That's great. All you need. I love that.
That's all you need. So that was Saf's Late Bloomer Award. So for me, I decided to go with the best launch game.
All right.
And that is best pack-in, which is the only pack-in, Astro's Playroom.
Right.
So this came with every single PlayStation 5.
Pre-installed.
Right? It's just pre-installed. You don't even have to download it. This, honestly, it's not even just best pack-in or best launch. It is one of my games of the year. It would be in my top 3. I just decided it was easier to fit a category around it. I was gonna go with best nostalgic for Crash, but then I feel like Streets of Rage 4 may have done it better, so I was like, Astro's Playroom. This is a very short game, but I loved every freaking second of it, right? And I know I was gonna tell me the rolling ball segments suck, but
you know it's true.
Yeah, but maybe it's just Stockholm syndrome. But doing the fucking speedrun levels, I really mastered the mechanics of even the ball roll. Right, so
that's 100%. Stockholm syndrome. I've had that with video games.
Yeah. But the game is very short. It's 4 worlds, right? And each world has 4 levels, right?
2 4 segments. They're not even separate levels.
Yeah. 4 segments. Yeah. It's a very short game. You can beat it I platinumed the game in 4 or 5 hours, I think. It was very quick to do. But the platforming is great, right? Visually, it's pretty. I guess it's mostly simplistic compared to some other big AAA games.
No, but you could tell it's a next gen game. It looks.
Oh, you can.
Looks crisp as hell.
It's so crisp. It's so pretty. It uses the DualSense in just a phenomenal way, right? whether that's the haptic feedbacks or the adaptive triggers, just the interesting ways that they use this controller really make you. I mean, it feels like the most next gen game, right? Just because it's doing things that like other systems couldn't do before it, straight up, right? And it is just a love letter to the PlayStation.
The whole franchise.
Each world is built around like basically like all the collectibles you're getting in each world are corresponding to like one generation of PlayStation, right? So you have your PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4 level, and on top of that, like each world is like kind of themed around like one aspect of the PlayStation 5, right? And throughout the adventure, not only are you collecting all these different hardware peripherals and consoles and whatnot from PlayStation history, but then you'll also see like little cameos of so many PlayStation games, like so many. Every time you see one and you recognize what it is, you just smile, right? You're just like, I can't believe that's in there, or whatever, And like I never want to spoil like some of those because that's I was taken aback by like how many they were able to fit in and who they were able to get in,
I said the same thing when I was talking about it before. I didn't want to spoil any of the
the cameos. Yeah, but it really just is a delight to play, and then I just got a surprising amount of mileage out of the speedrun mode. For a while I was top 200 in the world, believe it or not.
I know.
I have a screen.
I mean, you asked me to believe it or not, and I don't.
Yeah, well, okay, but no, I and I think it's because specifically just the platforming in this game is just excellent. It really is, and I think that also, funnily, maybe one of the biggest detriments to the game is I just wish there was more of that. It's so good. It feels so good to play, and I just wish there was more. It's a great packing game, but I really hope like a fully fleshed out Astro game comes to PlayStation 5 soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's a great game. Love Astrobot. So, hey, that's my little spiel. Noah, what's your special award?
Game most relevant to 2020. Plague Inc. involved. That says it all. Pretty self-explanatory. I saw this game. My friend was playing it, and I was like, "Oh, what the hell?" He was like, "Yeah, it's a game about viruses." I was like, "Oh, how fitting." And then I looked; it was on sale, so I was like, "Fuck it, why not?" And it's literally all you do is you start off as a virus. You could be a bacteria, a virus, a parasite, whatever you want. And it actually is a lot more detail in it than I thought. And it was pretty fun. You have to find a way to spread across the world and kill off every human. And wipe out humanity before they find a vaccine or a cure for your disease. It's actually pretty challenging. That sure does sound familiar. Because they lock down countries, and then once they lock down a country, you can't get in, you can't infect people, so they survive. So there's actually a lot of strategy in mutating your virus and like try to sneak across the world.
Huh.
That's for
makes you think.
And it's multiplayer. I was playing with my friend too.
Oh,
two viruses in one.
All right. Well, that's
yeah,
pretty apt. I would say. All right, Ills, what is your special category?
Okay, so I've been talking about this game all year, basically. I played it in May, I think, and it's Doom Eternal, and my special category for it is biggest disappointment. Because my God.
Sad.
I replayed Doom 2016.
16.
And man, I love that game a whole fucking lot. It's just so well done. Like, even though it's a Doom game and you don't expect there to be like narrative and characters, even that much, like, they nailed in 2016. The little amount they had, they perfectly nailed the Doom guy, the Doom Slayer. And it makes you feel like you're complicit in his actions, basically. Like, you're doing the actions. It's never like a third person view. You're always like as the Doom guy. But in Doom Eternal, they fucked that up so bad. Like, the characters they introduced that they bring back in Eternal are garbage now. They're so fucking stupid. Like, even the aesthetic is fucking, it's cartoonish. It's kind of ugly. It's kind of garish. Like it looks like a completely different game, a completely different style. There's almost no explanation of how the Doomslayer got to where he is from the end of the last game to the beginning of this game. There's a whole bunch of like texts that they give you that are filled with expository nonsense. I mean, it's like it runs the gamut of shitty things. The combat's still mostly strong, even though the feel of it is a lot different. Like in 2016, you're constantly attacking. In this game, you're constantly running away. And yeah, I mean, I just felt like they dropped the ball so hard because I was so excited for this game, and now I just feel like it was a waste of time.
That's always a sad feeling.
Fair enough. Well, if you want to experience disappointment for yourself, that's yet another game on Ilse's list that is on Xbox Game Pass.
I mean, you might like it if you don't pay too much attention to like 2016 and the lore and like whatever. But I was just so excited.
You're not a fucking nerd. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. All right, Brandon, what is your close us off with your special category?
Well, I just went with my favorite or the best free game that I played this year. And no, I don't count Among Us because I paid $5 for it.
Not free to him.
Yeah, paid $5. I ain't watching your fucking ads. Get out of here. But my favorite free game that I played this year was not a battle royale game because I don't think I played fucking Fortnite at all this year. So Helltaker was a free little game that is available on PC. It's free on Steam, and it's a little indie puzzle game mixed with some dating sim elements, all developed and art and everything was made by one dude. So he just made this game over, it took about a year or so, I think I read. And it's only about a 30-minute game. It's very short, but it's fun. It's a fun little trip. You play through it real quick. You play through these little puzzle stages where you jump around and move around, push around boxes and defeat enemies. Get keys to unlock doors, and you have a certain number of moves you have to do it within. The story revolves around a man named Helltaker who has a dream to make a harem of demon girls. So he just decides, I'm going to go to hell and make this dream come true. So he goes to hell, and after each stage, you have to basically get a little talking segment where you talk to these demon girls and try to smooth them over. And if you answer incorrectly, you get a bad ending. They'll kill you or turn you down. And then you have to start the stage over again.
A fate worse than death.
Getting turned down by a demon girl. But I don't know. It's really fun. It's a cool little game, and I would say give it a try. It's fun. A little 30-minute game. And the final boss is kind of switches it up. It's almost like it's got some bullet hell mechanics where you kind of changes up the gameplay, and it's pretty cool. It's fun. 30 minutes. Why not? It's free. Go do it.
Alrighty. And that about wraps up our games of the year 2020. Like I said, we talked about a lot of games. This is what podcast went for long, but a lot of games to talk about, surprisingly. But we can't just end it there. We have one more duty to complete before we wrap up for the night. And that is, of course,
The list. So,
follow along in the paste bin in the description below. You're going to need to keep track, because what the list is, what we do every week, we add a new game and we rank it against every other game we've added previously, right? This is not like a best of list or anything like that. It's just simply, we're adding games to this list and we're just going to keep growing this list and ranking it amongst each other. It's already very big. How big is the list, you guys?
239? No, 245.
34.
245 games. Lord have mercy. This list is getting really fucking unwieldy. But we keep on trucking. Last week, what the fuck did we add? I added the game, right? I added Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Trials and Tribulations.
You did?
Which got to number 29. Noah, how do you feel about that? You feel pretty good? Pretty bad? Or...
That's a big gap between the other Phoenix Wright game. Holy shit.
It is a big gap. But, it's hard. Sometimes it's how the cookie crumbles. So, this week, though, speaking of Noah, you're not on very often. We like to give you a chance to add whenever you are. What do you got for us? Hopefully it's not controversial.
No.
So we don't not here for long.
Jesus. No, I did not have something prepared. So I'm just going to take one of them games from a long lost list and try to add it there to this list. And for this one, I'm going to add Catherine to the list.
Huh?
That is a game that Saf is going to talk about for like 40 minutes.
This is a game I was afraid of revisiting.
Can I?
I may not remember it as well as I thought I would, or like a lot of things may have aged poorly than when I first played it.
Can we table the Catherine discussion and do like Scourge Hive or something?
That's what I was hoping to.
All right, let's do that one then.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Scourge Hive. The hell is that game?
It was a club game that we played in the old game club we had. It was... I barely freaking remember it, honestly. It was a very...
it's isometric, kind of like it's sort of like Metroid. Yeah. You play as a female bounty hunter trying to hunt down this virus that's escaped.
Sure.
And,
there we go. Yeah, now it's coming back to me now, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was also like one of the things I hated about it, I remember, was like there was a bad timer mechanic in that you were walking around just exploring. You always had a timer going down, and you had to always refresh your health in these stations.
You had like this infection going through you, and you had to lower your infection rate every time you get to a safe spot.
I hated it.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest.
It's okay. I mean, it's not that bad. But yeah.
I barely remember this game, honestly. I kind of...
You have multiple elements in your weapon. You use like this, I think it's like a pistol, but you get different elements that you can switch between depending on the enemy that you're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And obviously there's like different environments. I can tell you the soundtrack is really good because it's made by Jake Kaufman.
Yeah, it was one of the pluses the game had.
Yeah. And the last boss fight is hard as fuck.
I don't think I ever got to the last boss, honestly.
Where do you guys want to put it?
I don't know if I remember enough to justify placement.
I mean, you can give Il's first call.
He definitely remembers it more than I do, so go right ahead.
I would put it like in the Winback 2 area.
Winback 2. That is...
Which is number...
200?
Yeah, 200. It's at 200. Yeah,
Is that a little high?
I agree with that, honestly. Based on my memories of this game, it's been a long time, but
should we put it below Zelda?
I mean, I would put it at 205, to be honest with you.
So above or below Second Sight?
Above.
Yeah, that would be above Second Sight.
Should we put
below God Hand, above Second Sight?
I'm okay with that, but
yeah, I guess that's fine. I just really like this soundtrack. So good.
Yeah, fair. Fair enough.
The gameplay is
go on.
The gameplay is it's decent. Like it's not bad. It reminds me kind of like Monster Tale and the kind of similar like similar amount of involvement that you have. It's not great. It's just like passable.
Yeah, I remember the gameplay being wholly fine. I like the music a lot, like Ills did, but I think it was just a combination of the isometric view sometimes kind of fucked me up, and I just did not like the mechanic of having to worry about constantly having to get back to...
Yeah, and it
could work. It's a thing that could work. It's not a bad idea.
I felt like it was going down way too fast. Like, I remember having to go backtracking just to refill my time, like the health
constantly,
thing.
Yeah. I didn't find it enjoyable because it just wasn't... I just didn't think it was executed as well as it could have.
Well,
Saf, did you play this game? Didn't you pick this game?
He
I
did.
did. That was
He
my
did.
choice. That's fine. I picked it on the recommendation of a mutual friend of ours.
Oh,
It was-
yeah,
Funny enough, the game was released on both the Game Boy Advance and the DS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very early DS title and a very late Game Boy Advance title, and they just ported it over to the DS.
Like a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon type.
I
of
can't
game.
remember which one is regarded better. I think it's the GBA one is regarded better.
That's the
But I
one
have the
we
DS.
played. We
I
played
played
the
it on the
GBS one.
DS, so I don't
I
know.
played on the GBA because I was running a theme during the Game Club of like
Oh yeah, you also had like Dragon Ball Z, Legacy of Goku, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pinball Land.
Pinball Land.
Yeah.
Every game I picked was a Game Boy Advance.
Sigma Star
Sigma
Saga.
Star Saga.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we never actually got around to finishing it. But anyway, maybe one day we'll do that game.
All right. Well, I think that settles that. So Scourge Hive is getting at number 205. Surrounding it, 203 Super Mario Land, 204 God Hand, 205 Scourge Hive, 206 Second Sight, and 207 Jet Force Gemini. The list is now 235 games long. Lord
Hallelujah.
have mercy.
Mhm.
Saf, since I have done you dirty and I'm making you waste your Boxing Day edit this long podcast, you can take us out.
Sure.
Brandon, you want to plug?
Hey, if you enjoyed the Jump Up Supercast, make sure you give us a follow on your favorite podcast listening service of your choice, whether that's SoundCloud, iTunes, or YouTube, where new episodes of the Jump Up Supercast go up every single Monday, as well as our other show, the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. We mentioned a few times that goes up every other Thursday. We just played Fallout 1 recently, and next game that we're doing is Firewatch, which was a Patreon choice. So if you want to support the podcast, we do have a Patreon where you can, for just $1 a month, get a chance to choose one of our Game Club games every round, and also get access to our Discord, talk to us there. And you support the podcast, which we would just really appreciate. And thank you for listening. Just listening and sharing and liking the podcast really gives us exposure, and we really that just helps too. So thank you guys for all your support. So give us a follow, a like, or a share. We also have social media, so if you want to follow us and stay up to date everything that we do, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just search up Jump Up Supercast to be able to find us pretty easily. And you can even catch us streaming sometimes on twitch.tv/JumpUpSupercast, where Muzzy's been playing Mario games, and sometimes I play games on there. So if you want to see what we're playing, make sure you give us a follow and come hang out, play video games with us. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you guys for joining me on the podcast here on your Christmas day for the recording. Appreciate that. And go out there, play video games, be nice to each other. And Saf, take it away.
Before Saf goes in, by the way, when I streamed yesterday, as of this recording, a couple days ago, played through Super Mario Bros. 2 and all of
God.
Galaxy in a day.
Okay.
He needs to brag.
Single
He needs
day.
to on the back.
I gotta brag, all right? We went through a lot, so
Roll the fucking
that's why you need to
eyes.
tune into the stream. That's why you need to tune into the streams.
You gotta
know?
give us a follow so you know when we're live.
It's a fun time. So, all right, go ahead, Seth.
Alright. By the time you're listening to this, Christmas is over, and we have won against the siege of the liberals as their war against Christmas. Until next year, when they try again, and we'll fight and we'll win for Christmas and Jesus.
Oh boy.